So YouTube, I'm back to play with my horns again, so I figured I'd let you guys see what was going on with them. So as it was before, is I just basically dipped them in evapo-rust, got them cleaned up and derusted, but I found I had to take them all apart. When you take them all apart, you get the insides where some of the evapo-rust couldn't get into because it's, you know, sealed up and stuff. But I want to show you what's inside of a horn set. So here's all the pieces and parts of the horn. There's the evapo-rust tub. I still got some interesting stuff going on. That's the evapo-rust now. This is how the color of it. I got nuts and bolts in there right now soaking. But this is the parts. So you've got the couple. This is a couple sets I've torn apart now. This piece here is the actual part that makes the noise. This is just how it came out of the evapo-rust. Again, you can see the residue over here where that is on it, but it really does a good job. It leaves a residue film on it. You can see that shiny right there. And what that does is it gives a little protection so you can store stuff for a few weeks. But these are a different set of horns. Like I said, there's several, but this is what they look like. The horns I actually have done already, which were the other set, are over here. Here's the actual set that was in the evapo-rust, that dip that we originally saw. You can see the original. You can see it's got a lot of like where the pits were and stuff like that. I mean, it's textured and stuff, but I have since clear coated them, and I put new gaskets and stuff in them to make them so they're operable. I just didn't video that. It was a process. I took them all apart and I showed you the pieces that were over the other side. This is just what they look like and how I'm going to leave them. You can see that these have been clear coated with a lacquer, and all that does is give a little protection and a little shine. You can see the horns originally had a greenish paint, but it was like a metallic, and you can see some of that place right there, that's paint that wasn't removed. Some of the paint color is what you're seeing. It's kind of neat that that's what they use for a preservative on them. You can see it down the back of this guy here too, right here. It was a paint, but what I did is I rinsed them off with acetone. It took off the little bit of green that was left, and I stopped it before I ate it all off, and it was actually the coating underneath it. So that's that. And I did it to the horn bells are outside in the garage. I just clear coated those. So I'm going to take a walk out there and show you what those are. And what I'm using, I'll show you the product I'm using too. So here's some of the horn bells. And you can tell those are the ones that were very pitted. But that's what they look like. I just put clear coat on them. Then I got the actual relays covers. These are the relay covers. They're round, and so I just clear coated these too. It kind of stinks in here. You can see that there's definitely some pitting and stuff on those. On the other sets of horns I had down cellar I was showing you, I'm going to have those nickel plated, and those will protect those. But I have some new old stock ones. I'll show you those in a minute. But I bought some of these. You can't buy these round relays anymore. I found a guy that did have some new old stock, so I was very fortunate to get them. And I'm going to use those on the other set. This one wasn't quite as bad, and it doesn't have the pitting, but it's still, you can see the texture and little thing there. They had some dents in them that I beat out of them, so the bodywork came out pretty decent because I did that before I even put them in the. After I took them out of the evapo-rust, after I took them apart, I was able to pound the dents out, but before I clear coated them. They came out pretty decent. They're pretty straight. They'll look neat when it's all done. And I will show you that. This is the product I'm using. It's a clear lacquer. So I just poured it. I put the pieces in this little pan. I just poured it over. I rinsed them off with the acetone, and then I used the tweezers here to hold the small pieces while I coated them. But yeah, it seems to work okay. It doesn't give a really deep shine. Other than that, it was nice because I could actually pour them through the horns. Because when I had the horns apart, I actually poured it right through the chamber to seal the inside. Because the evapo-rust cleaned the whole inside of that curl on the snail shell. And I needed something to coat that again so I wouldn't get just flash rust and so on and so forth. So after I rinsed it off, and that's why I took it. I rinsed it off. I rinsed it off with the acetone. Then I flushed this through it, and I just put it in this pan and poured it in the pan and just poured it back into the can when I was done. So that's what I did. So here's the new old stock ones I have that are going to be for the ones that are on the shelf. These are brand new. new old stock, still painted silver for this application. And these are the horn bells for these horns here. I got a pair there and another pair there. These are the diaphragms that work inside the unit. They're kind of thin, and you can see they're still got a coating of evapo-rust on those. That little ear right here, that little ear actually breaks contact with the point setup right through there. It pushes on that piece right there on the micarta, which breaks the point, which releases the magnetic field, which then allows the diaphragm to release. Then once it releases, this opens up, then it pulls it back in. That's what makes the horn work. So it's kind of an interesting process. I have another set of horns I'm going to be doing that have a different style altogether. The inside of those round relays are these. This is what's under that cover. And this is the relay operation, and for the actual horn button to actually pull this in, which puts power to the horn. So here's me trying to put these things back together. So this is me making the gaskets, marking them up for punching the holes and everything. I'm going to continue the process of assembling the horn systems, and I do this 4 times for each horn, 2 on each pair, so it's a total of 4. I had to drill out the rivets to make these, so I ended up buying some screws that were kind of neat. They have a little flat head. They have a little shoulder, and it's got like a knurling to hold it. And these are 1032s. These will take the place of the rivets. Before I start putting these together, though, I have to clean up the contacts because the evapo-rust leaves a film on it. I'm going to open the contacts and see what the meter does. Now it's at about 7 ohms. Goes up to 12.5, back to 7, 12.5. Yep. So there's a shading coil in there that stops it from chattering too much. So, and then basically you line up your pin with that piece of metal, which is that hole there is the con. So I'm just doing it to show you how it goes together. I'm going to be painting these, so I'm going to paint them all apart. I want you guys just to see that little screw goes in there. Basically, you line up the holes with the membrane. Oh yeah. There's 2 1/4-inch holes you have to line up first because they're the bottom. Where the heck are those holes there? Being stubborn. And you just push it all the way around, and then the bracket, those 2 1/4-inch holes on the bottom of this one, hold it to the bracket. I'm not going to bother putting it all together, but I wanted to show you guys how that starts. And of course, you go all the way around the frame with these, with all the screws. But I'm not going to put them all on. And then the mounting bracket is actually the threaded piece on this. And then your bell, you hook up your wire. I have to buy new cloth covered wire. And it would hook onto there. We'd put a grommet on it in here, run it out the back side. This snaps over, a screw goes in. Then you just rinse and repeat. Then you end with a double set. And the horn relays go across the bottom. They go one on one side, one on the other, with the covers on them underneath there. They look really sharp. But to rebuild the actual horn assembly itself is actually kind of simple on this one. There's not as many moving parts. This one, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of adjustments, and you have to put the metal washer on here first as it comes up through the hole. So this has to be inside there, and then it screws on all the way up, and then the nut and washer goes on here, it opens that up, and so this one's a lot more in depth. This one, the biggest challenge is drilling out all the rivets, so to make this work. So, but I just wanted to show you guys what it is. There again, once I get a complete horn already all assembled, the relays on there, I'll take you out back and we'll fire them up. I'll let you hear what they sound like. Thanks a lot, YouTube.